Okay, welcome to the program, folks. October the 21st, you're with the Editor-in-Chief live with Lester's Oil, your multi-ingredient omega-3 healthy aging supplement backed by thousands of satisfied customers. It's 6 supplements in 1 capsule, supports joint, heart and brain health. Take as directed. Read the label. It is About Health Auckland.
Duncan Garner, live.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Duncan Garner. Welcome. Good to have your company. Get in touch on YouTube and TikTok. It's all there, and you can get in. You see all the details on the screen there. Tonight, home ownership. And imagine if I told you you could buy a house without the need to be held to ransom by one of the big banks, the big Aussie banks, who, by the way, made $7.2 billion in profit last year. So home ownership, yes, but no high interest mortgage to nail you for the next 30 or 40 years. In reality, the only system we have for buying houses is irretrievably broken, and we need to find a new way, a way out of this mess, really. Home ownership rates have tumbled. Bank interest rates are consistently higher than in Australia and around the world. And it costs twice as much to build here than across the ditch, and it takes 3 times as long here in New Zealand. So this is all money, you see. It's impossible for so many. But is there new hope around the corner? It's a new company called Bloxx. It involves actor Cliffy Curtis, who is worried so many of his people can't get on the property ladder. Let's find out more, so let's go.
Duncan Garner, live.
Well, great. Good to have your company. Welcome to the show. How can it be possible to buy a home without a mortgage, without servicing a really high-interest mortgage for the next, say, 30 years? Here's how. Have a look at this. Okay, so the men behind this now join me, former banker Chris Smith. Chris, nice to see you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you, Duncan.
Good to see you. And his teammate coming out of Rotorua on the Zoom is New Zealand actor Cliffy Curtis. Tēnā koe, Cliff. Nice to have you on, mate.
Yeah, kia ora, mate.
Nice to have you both here. Cliff, I'll start with you. Where did this idea come from? How come you got involved?
Oh, it's just I've been looking at other opportunities outside of the the acting thing, and it sort of came through a business partner. We're looking at other ventures, and they said you should have a look at that. And that's Brett Peterson, and he's with the Bloxx team, and so he introduced me to Chris. I sat down and listened to Chris, and it didn't take me long to figure out that it made sense. So because I've been looking at this problem for, I've been interested in it since way back in the 90s when the government decided to sort of let go of social housing. And I was watching that way back when and seeing the impact of it over the last 30 years. And sort of here we are today. So I've been looking for a solution like this. Yeah.
Chris, welcome. It's good to have you here as well. Good team. You've got a good teammate there. And it's such a problem. Now we have to face up to a bank. If you're buying a $1 million house, you need 250 grand just as a deposit. No one's got it.
Yep. No
one's got this. It's a joke. And to build a house here, you're going to take 3 times as long as Australia, twice the cost. Something's got to happen. How does it work? Tell us.
Yeah, so you've got a systemic problem with the way that we're structured today. And if I said to you, we've got 2 million Kiwis renting, and that was below 1 million, like in the 90s that we referred to, and projected to get to 3 million in the next 20 so years. We really have an issue, and it's not just like renting. It's not just about the concept of people being trapped. It's underneath the surface. When you pull that right back, you go to the fact that we're kind of breaking some of the social contracts that we've set up.
What's the health and welfare of a family? Bringing up a family. When I was growing up, probably like Cliffy, we didn't think of the house as an investment. We thought of it as a safe place.
Absolutely.
It's where we learned our behaviours. It's where we had fun. It's where everything happened.
Roots of community, etc., etc. So it has so many ripple effects in how that plays through. And now we're at a point when you break some of the social contracts, it means if I do well at school, if I go on and get a degree, if I get a good job, suddenly I can't now buy a house. That doesn't feel right. So we're stepping into that, because what we can't do is create a society where it's based on how rich your parents are, is the the basis of you being able to get into a home and own your own home.
Yes.
So we're kind of creating the rich relative scenario that gives you the leg up and gets you into the market and gets you into the system when you don't necessarily have that in play.
So with the way this would work is if I turn up to just say build a house, and so it's 1% as a deposit.
Correct.
Who funds it then?
So we basically work with kind of the people who are funding the bank today. You know, you've got a lot of institutional investors funneling money into the banking system.
Yes.
You've got a lot of big investment managers around the world, unfortunately starting to buy up residential property and becoming a corporate landlord.
Yes.
We're basically saying there's a better outcome. There's a better solution here. We want those institutional investors to do well. You know, absolutely. There is a reason why residential property is a good asset class, but we need to do that in a way that actually benefits people and enables home ownership rather than restricts them from the market and perpetuates renting.
But you still have to borrow, won't you?
We need to just create buying based on equity because the money already exists in the system.
Yes.
We basically divert that investment into housing. They own the house with you, but you pay them. You basically buy in rather than pay back.
Right, so you're buying, over time, you're buying equity so you can get up to 100%, which is what you do with the banks, except for the interest rates and the extra that you're paying.
Correct. You're already in a kind of fractional ownership structure with the bank anyway.
Of course you are. They'll sell it from under you and you're not going to own much of it. So will there be an interest rate?
No, because there is no debt, there is no loan. You're basically buying equity every week when you make a payment. You're buying into your home with that money.
Yeah, so as each week goes by, you own a little bit more. Cliff, it makes so much sense, doesn't it? I bet when this fitted your kaupapa, didn't it? I mean, this fitted what you stand for, Cliff.
Yeah, it's been something, like I said, I've been interested in this a while, and I've looked at a lot of different models there are, you know, fractional ownership, sort of rent to buy, you know, this sort of similar ideas. But nothing that's so thoroughly well thought through as Chris has done. He's done an extraordinary amount of work, and he comes from the banking sort of sector and worked for multiple banks internationally. So he really has thought about the model and how to make sure it's sustainable and workable.
You've seen it, especially in your town where you're from, with the number of people in emergency housing, or the fact that there's not even emergency housing available, and they're in motels and so forth. I know it's got a bit better lately, but it's obvious where you are from,
Yeah, the impact of like making homes part of an asset class and as an investment thing, not just for like the big investment institutions, but also for, you know, people who have got their first home and then they start competing for their second and third home so they can have an investment. It drives a huge amount of stress in our community where people just are being shut out of getting a home. And so it's not just about homelessness, it's about people that are working really hard with the traditional idea that if they save their deposit and they get a job and they do everything right, they're going to get into the home, and it's just not the case. It's like getting harder and harder.
It's too far-fetched, isn't it, for a lot of these people? You'd see it with whānau and friends, no doubt.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I've been fortunate enough to be able to help a number of whānau and family members and stuff get into homes, but you know, it only goes so far. You know, and what happens to all of those people that don't have a mum or an uncle or an auntie or a cousin or a granddad that can help them? They're going to miss out, and I think we can do better than that.
Yeah. What was your story? What was it growing up for you? What do you recall and what do you remember, and what was your situation?
You know, I grew up, you know, my parents were a part of the urban drift. You know, they left the sort of after the farming got shut down because of the, you know, the change of relationship with Britain. They weren't buying our products anymore. So a lot of the Māori that were in the rural areas that were, you know, in jobs, they all came to the city. That was my parents, but they couldn't get in. They couldn't even rent a house because they were Māori. That's how it was for them. They had to get their Pākehā mates to sort of pretend that they were renting the house, then move it over. But they found a way. You know, I mean, it was tough, but it was achievable even for them. You know, raising kids. But it was because they actually got a 2% loan, I think what it was, which was through an iwi loan that they figured out how to do that.
Yeah.
That's how they got on the ladder. And it was all very humble, you know. It's like there was no investing in properties to make money. It was just like, we need a home for our family.
Yeah. Well, that's what it used to be, right? It used to be that was your home, that's where you grew up. Oh, that's where Cliff grew up, or that's where whatever grew up. Now we've seen it as an asset class. We talk about asset classes and people go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 homes to get ahead. And so it just leaves people further behind. Have you ever faced homeless? Have you ever faced the real issue of facing the fact that tonight I'm going to be homeless? Have you ever faced that?
Oh yeah, but it didn't feel like homelessness to me. It just felt like practical. It's like, well, okay, I'll just live in my car for a while. You know, it didn't feel like homelessness to me. I've been slept outside on park benches and stuff like that, but it just felt like, well, It didn't feel like the end of the world. It was just a temporary measure. It wasn't like a way of life. It wasn't a life choice. And so I don't know about you, when the first time you ever saw a homeless person in our hometowns or in even the big cities, I was shocked. I couldn't understand what was going on. And then I went overseas and I saw like how prolific it was. And I don't think we've quite come to realize how bad this can get. Because when you go over to places, these affluent, developed Western countries, like go to LA and you go down to, Santa Monica, or go down, Santa Monica, or like Hollywood or downtown LA, or San Francisco, and it's devastating when you see how bad this can get.
Yeah, well, I took my son to San Francisco a few years back, and in fact, actually, before I get to that story, there was a homeless guy outside of school, Mount Albert Grammar, last night, sleeping on the footpath, and we got shocked by that. About 4 years ago, Cliff took him to San Francisco, and I was really shocked at the numbers of people on the street living rough and sleeping rough. It's just exploded, and if we're not careful...
And that's in the developed world.
I know.
That's in the developed world. And I think if we don't find a solution, and Bloxx is the best one that I've found to date that I think gives us some hope, then that's what lays ahead for us. And I don't think we need to go there. I think we can do better than that.
Yeah, but we've only got one system, Chris, right now, haven't we? There's one system. Let's go to the bank and plead your innocence. I'm not spending money on anything. No, I never go out. I never party. I never drink. I never go anywhere and do anything. All I do is save for a house. Mm-hmm. And you sort of almost, it's like a moral test of you as much, isn't it? It's like a moral test.
Yeah, and I think this idea of debt seems to have been normalised in society is the only way to buy something of significance. And what we're trying to do is kind of move people's mindsets. It's very entrenched that you either rent or you buy with a mortgage.
That's right, yeah. See, there's no sort of model. The government's meddled in this before, as Cliff was saying.
There is a model, though. There is a model. And it's for those that have. It's like you go and talk to your granddad, or you go and talk to your mum and dad, and they figure it out for you. And, you get the option to, the second or third home. It's like, well, we've got this rental property. You can start off there. Yeah. There are solutions for those that have. But it's just that that bandwidth's just getting narrower and narrower.
Yeah, and that's right. And the government's looked at this too, Cliff and Chris. The government's looked at, you get your state house and you buy it over time. Mm-hmm. But they've walked away from that. I've got one of my good mates. He's in a state house. His family's been there for 30 years in Sandringham. Yep. Samoan family, 30 years. Do you think they own it? No, they still pay rent on it. 30 years deep. Yep. And they've got not 1 percentage point ownership in that thing. Imagine if they'd used your model there. They'd own it now.
It's the biggest thing that you pay for weekly, monthly, however you pay for your housing situation. And if all of that money is just going into somebody else's hands, you cannot create intergenerational wealth.
It's dead money, isn't it?
It is dead. And it's just about getting from paycheck to paycheck. This is about taking people that should be buying with a mortgage, and then helping people who would never have thought. I mean, I grew up in social housing. I was, my mum was on benefits in the UK.
Yes.
All I knew when I was 16 to 18, up to that point in life, was renting.
Yeah.
I had no financial literacy.
Did you want to own a home because of that?
No.
Because of that, did you want to own a home?
No aspiration to own a home.
Exactly right. Yeah.
It was only because I went to university and fell into banking that suddenly the bank kind of forced me to buy a house at 22. Because it basically gave me a staff interest rate, which was zero deposit.
See, those days are gone too.
Even the bankers can't get in now.
The banks can't get there.
If you're young, yeah absolutely.
But no one's thought, as Cliff said, no one's thought hard enough about a third or fourth or fifth way to do this. It's either the bank and it's rent or buy. Yep. There's no sort of split ownership. There's no one's, we've had a bit of we've not even a half-assed go at this. A little tickler that didn't happen.
Yep.
Governments haven't been committed to it.
It's tricky.
Well, but we end up in these weird traps, like these families living in motels and Rotorua. I mean, what is that as a? It's a desperate kind of situation, and it's not but it's nowhere near a solution. It's just like, we got to find something practical, and we got to give it a crack. We got to try something.
I mean, what's the motel situation like now, Cliff? I know that they keep saying it's got better, but I saw it when I was down there. We took our show down there a couple of years ago, and it was pretty bad. It's got better or no?
Yeah. I mean, yes. I think it has gotten better. Yeah, but but also it's become normalised.
Yeah. Well,
perhaps that's why it's got,
and you go to places like the Hokianga, where I spend a lot of time, and Cliff, they're intense, mate. They're intense now.
Oh no, absolutely. Even if you go to Hawaii, it's like all of got all these Hawaiians living in tents, and this is like the developed world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think we just kind of I'm enthusiastic. I think that we have an opportunity to try this and get people to what it's a very simple mission, isn't it? Get families into homes. That's the mission.
Yeah.
It's not a crusade. It's not about like what anybody's doing wrong. It's like if we just focus on this simple mission and we apply, I think fundamentally the model is instead of having Bloxx can take the place of if you don't have a mum or a dad or a family member or a friend who can help you get into the home, then Bloxx can. Without piling debt onto it.
And that's a massive chunk of people. What's the home ownership about? 50 odd% now, isn't it? 58?
Nearly just below 60.
Yeah, 58.
Depends which stat you look at.
So that group that Cliff talks about, those who haven't got the mums and dads, you're talking 40%, 50%. You're talking half the country.
Correct. And that's the stat that's going to get worse if we do not do something different.
Yeah.
We do not innovate. And it's about applying. I'm in quite a unique position where lived in social housing. Grown up in a very not privileged part of the world, but got a good education.
Yeah.
Moved into the banking sector, suddenly seeing a completely different world. Lived through 2008 with the bank, whilst being around the table with the CEO, keeping the thing alive.
Yeah.
Means you understand now how the money market systems work behind the bank.
Yeah. And so what's behind the bank? So where's that bank getting the money from?
So you're predominantly looking at pension funds, hedge firms, big BlackRocks of the world. They already have a huge amount of single-family homes in the US.
Yeah, I bet they do.
So you've got these corporate entities now driving investment into the asset class.
And these people.
And buying at scale. I know a lot of people in the industry and across the world, yes.
And you can get access to this money?
We are working on getting access to that money because we've got to divert that money into New Zealand and into a model that actually gives them the same return back.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
There is a price for money, but we're doing it in a way where we can drive the cost down and give all the value back to the customer.
So
and the homeowner.
What costs will someone like if I come along and say, right, I need to buy this place here, it's going to cost me $750,000.
Yep.
Okay, and it's in let's say Napier or whatever.
Yep.
You need $7,500 from me as a deposit?
Correct, and that's a minimum. You can buy more if you wish.
It's not much, is it? I mean,
it's
a lot
very
of
close
money.
to a bond.
Exactly.
And a couple of weeks rent in advance. Yes.
So $7,500 gets me on the housing ladder, and then what are my other charges? What else will you charge me? There must be some hidden costs somewhere.
So you've got a fixed payment every week, which is fixed for 5 years.
Yes.
So you've got complete certainty, and that is equivalent to what you'll be paying to rent that house over that period.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that's a proxy because everywhere charges different rents, but we've looked across the market and we've kind of got a standardised position on that.
So it's like rent. It's like rent to buy.
But you are the owner.
Correct. Your name's on the title.
If you take a mortgage and you take away the debt side of the product,
Yes.
all of the other aspects of you can renovate, you can improve the house, you can have a dog, you don't have a landlord. All those aspects of the product are exactly the same.
Right. So there's an inbuilt. There's like an interest rate in there, but it's an inbuilt you don't talk about interest rates. It's a set figure.
You are just buying into the house on a set figure, which
Yes.
is equivalent to rent. So if you think about access, we've solved that because it's only 1% deposit is the minimum.
But that's a huge barrier.
We've made it as affordable as renting. So the point around affordability, is key because mortgages will currently be about 40% more than renting. So that's why so many people can't qualify. Because when you put 40% increase on the monthly payment, that means you need a much bigger salary.
Because people need to realise this too. When they're getting into the market, they're not just paying $700 for the house; they're paying $700 at 5% for the next 40 years or 30 years or whatever,
Correct.
and they're paying $2 million.
Yes, it's a lot.
People forget. I forgot that when I first bought the place. I mean, that's the truth, isn't it, Cliff?
That is the truth, and it's the shocking truth, really. And I think we're conditioned to not want to think about that because it's the truth of that is just too.
It's
absurd,
too depressing.
in many ways.
I don't know how many times I've paid $2 million for a house, but I don't have one now. I don't have one now because
neither do I. Duncan.
I'm in the market, and I'm in the market, Cliff, and it's bloody hard. It's almost impossible, mate.
Yeah, no, it's shocking. Like the first time I tried to buy a house, I was cashed up. I'd had a good couple of years, and I thought, on my exchange rate on my income back from the States, I was like, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
And that was when the prices, I was living in my car for like nearly 3 years because I couldn't get ahead of the skyrocketing, the cost, the increase of the cost of the housing. I couldn't get ahead of a guy, whoever was buying. I don't know whether it was a even another person, or whether it was some kind of investor group, were buying up these houses that I wanted to buy. And it was an auction. They were all an auction. I couldn't get a home. It took me years until I finally had to sort of realize that if I wanted to get a house, I had to pay like about 30%, 40, nearly 40% more than the valuation of the house. I just had to do whatever I had to do. I had to put everything in I had, and then I had to go back to living in my car because I couldn't afford to live in my own house. How stupid is that?
Well, no, I get this because I bought one at an auction too. There was 120 people at the auction. This was about 12 years ago. 120 people. I'd been living in Wellington, came to Auckland, couldn't believe it, and there were 12 bidders there that day, and lots of rubberneckers. And I'm there with my mate, and he said, "Just put another 10 in." I said, "Mate, I haven't sold my place in Wellington yet. How do I put another 10 in?" And I went to my mother. This is the truth. I went to my mother, and she lent me for a short time 50 grand to get me over the line. Won the auction, and I couldn't believe what I paid for this place. This was an ex-state house in a place called New Windsor, which is sort of back in Mount Albert, it's the hood. And I paid, close to $1 million for this thing.
Yep.
And it was an old state house.
Buyers are
but here's the crazy thing, though. What I realized is, like, how is this house or this piece of property suddenly worth so much more? What? So did I suddenly, is everyone suddenly wages going to go up? Somehow the economy of New Zealand is worth so much more. So therefore, that's why the houses are worth so much more. No, that's just an isolated asset that has been driven up due to what I would almost say is almost a false demand, or sort of because the investment class that's putting into the homes, it's no longer a home market, a housing market. It's an investment market that is driving these assets up. And so that's what we're competing against as home buyers.
And those guys running the auctions and some of the agents and everything, they turned into hate figures for me because the way they were pushing it up. And I could see that they hurt in the room. I went to a couple of auctions. I could see these people so bitterly disappointed to miss out. They weren't in the ballpark, Cliff. They were nowhere near it because their houses they were competing for, they were going up every year by 100 grand, okay, in Auckland. But they were on 65 grand as a local insurance guy down the road. Yep. They were falling further and further behind. They couldn't keep up.
No, yeah. Every time I went to an auction, I went on an auction, it came down to me and myself and one other person. Everybody else fell away. Yeah. And we were like, $100,000 over the valuation, and I had to tap out. I couldn't squeeze another drop of blood out of myself to make it work. The only way that I got into the house that I live in right now is because I've known the owners of the house for like 17 years.
Wow.
And that I'd said to them, when you sell, let me know. And I sat down at the kitchen table. They said an absurd number, and to stop it from going into property developers' hands, I gave them everything that I had at the time, and then I moved living into my car.
And I after 20, 30 years of work in the industry I'm in, I went to my mum for an extra 50 to see if I could get across the line. So if
20 years in banking, and I'm in renting.
Well, I live with my mother at the moment because I'm in between houses.
So I've got 6 kids.
I've got 4 kids.
That's real though. That's real though, right?
It's life,
you two are. No, but now imagine if you didn't have a mum.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the reality of things.
Yeah, well, imagine if you were in a job that meant that your income didn't go up, you didn't get paid well. I consider we all probably got paid well as well, and we still struggled.
Well, the impact of, if we look at just the last few years, cost of living's real. We talk about inflation being low now, but you've had 3 years of impact. Where nurses,
and
teachers,
if we're looking at the amount of redundancies going on, and contraction of culling of jobs in multiple industries, that's another whole sort of picture,
I don't want to get political, but when I saw the Prime Minister recently say, I just sold 2 houses, made $500,000 in profit, and he's sorted, thanks, I'm sorted. I thought, when I heard sorted, I was like, maybe he should have just toned it down a bit, because it's I don't know, it's nothing against wealth, not against wealth, but it's just about the distribution of it.
It's difficult for a lot of people out there.
And that's, they have 1 house, not 7.
Yeah. That's the idea here. I've gone back to my roots and gone, I've seen both sides of how society can live, and we have to find a way to bridge this gap. Because
how do kids pass exams and do well at school if they're sharing a bedroom with 8 others?
Well, not just the sharing the bedroom with 8 others, it's the fact that you might have to move in 6 months because the landlord decides to sell the house.
Yeah, and again.
Suddenly into a different area, into a different school zone. You know, I've experienced that in the last year. Coming back to New Zealand, renting, suddenly the house was put on the market, had to move to a different area, try and keep the kids in the same school.
Yeah.
Very, very impactful on everything.
And it's impacted different generations. Cliff, your parents, similar age to mine, when they bought their house, I remember when they bought their house, it was 60 grand and Dad was on 20. So it was 3 times the income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
there it is, yeah.
And so now it's 10, 12, whatever.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
What's possible?
And so this is what I call sort of like the new feudalist sort of era.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of people that came here from other parts of the world, they were leaving a system where they knew that their children's future was, you know, to be stuck in a sort of a class system or a landlord, but locked, sort of where the wealthy owned everything and they were stuck there.
Yes.
So they came to New Zealand with this notion of egalitarianism and sort of no long, you know, where they can get a home for themselves and their children. And it feels like it's another cycle of going back to sort of this feudalist system where people will only have the chance, will only, stuck with landlords.
Well, I wonder if we got two
landowners.
I wonder if we go into a system where we have 2 classes. You got the owners, and the rest of us. And I wonder if there's no middle class because they've slipped either up or down. Mostly down, right? So there's a big lot of 40-50% renters, and the 50% owners. They're only then the 10% who have everything. You know, because it's always the small percentage has the everything.
It's kind of like Cliff refers to it often like a game Monopoly.
Yeah,
and we don't want to get to the end of the game.
We all know how Monopoly works out. I mean, we all play it. We've all played it.
Yeah,
and it always ends up with 1 or 2 players left, and everybody's kind of like throwing their cards in.
Well, they're up against the wall, getting screwed. They don't own the property. They might have a utility, but that's not going to keep them afloat, and they're gone.
Yeah, you're done.
What are those? What are the purple houses? What are the ones at the end there? Those ones, Mayfair They're the ones that, those guys are the bosses.
Yep. And then it follows.
Yeah, but again, look, I got to be careful with this kind of conversation or this rhetoric because I don't want to sort of think that I've got nothing against like rich people per se.
No.
I'm just saying that in terms of where we live. We need greater balance in our communities and our society and in the way that we're doing this, and that's what's important.
No, look, I'm not standing here against wealth either. I mean, I'm all into it. The more people that can be wealthy, the better. It's a better community.
Fantastic, great idea.
But it's also the outcomes, and I wonder if you shut people out for too long. There's 2 things on my mind right now. One is you'll never be able to sell your house because there'll be no one to buy it. Mm-hmm. So all these people trying to sell their houses, they may not find anyone there to buy it. And secondly, if you lock people out for too long in society, you lose the social code. You have a code, right? Yep. And there could be anarchy. There could be marching on the streets. I don't know, but you just
well, you suddenly make it very difficult for nurses to live in Auckland.
Yeah,
things
exactly.
Like that, right? So, and it has a real impact on the way that urban sprawl or society actually works. Yeah. Which is why we've got to get at the heart of this. For people wanting to get into home ownership, how do we make that accessible, affordable, and also make it really clever? So that they're actually buying in quicker than they'd be paying down debt. Yeah. On the flip side of that, though, we're not against investors investing in an asset class and doing well.
No,
because the reality is the money sits there.
Yeah.
So we've got to do a job of diverting all of the money that's going into that asset class anyway, just via a mechanism in the US, and we've got to keep it here, divert it into this to enable people to get into home ownership, whilst protecting the money of the investor, whilst giving them a strong return.
This is another way to do it.
We're giving them the ability to do good for Kiwi families rather than perpetuating the problem.
I think, Cliffy, the bonus here, the way you've described the bonus here, is the fact that you have a much smaller deposit, 1% rather than 20. So there's your biggest barrier to entry for a lot of people. Is right there, I reckon, at the start line.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just right there, but then also that your weekly payments can satisfy an investor and get you that are going into principal, not into interest.
Oh, that's such a relief, isn't it, to hear that? Such a relief. God. I mean, I remember that when I bought my first place, overpaid for it, and God, I didn't think I could do it. And it was like $1,000 payment, and something like 920 was interest.
Yep.
And I could work harder and harder, and like they wouldn't let me pay off anymore because the bank structured it so I couldn't.
No,
pay
they'll
off
penalise you. They'll penalise you.
Yeah.
You get penalised if you pay off more.
The secret is the first 15 years is predominantly interest.
Yeah, I know.
The second 15 years.
15 years.
You really shouldn't probably double down and buy in, because you're putting all of your money into the thing that you live in.
Yeah.
So from an investment perspective, if you talk about it purely from a wealth management perspective for the people that own the home, it's actually not a real clever place to put all your cash. So we're kind of changing the way that ownership occurs, but it is real ownership, but it's how do we enable that to happen in a much cleverer fashion.
This will be, and to both of you, we better wrap things up because we've been talking to you guys for a bit, but Cliffy, this will change lives. You know, I mean, I know it's only 4,500 as a first entry sort of point, but that's 4,500 lives. And maybe 20,000 people, because there'll be other people are affected by this in the house. That it changed their life. You know, if one family's changed their life, that's a win, mate.
I've got a family that we've been trying to help get into a home for a couple of years now. Just and it's been so difficult to see them do everything right and still not get there. So, but with this system, I'm hoping that we're gonna completely change the lives of them and their children. And
yeah, you will.
And then the other great thing about this, in terms of that, I would never been able to figure out, and that Chris has managed to look at how we can scale this so that it's not just about, it's about the 100 in the first couple of 2,000, and then it can scale up to as many homes we need for us to house people.
You watch the banks as you start to get bigger. Now, scale is important because scale, the masses. But I reckon you'll get there. I mean, it can take a long time to change the world, but you got to start somewhere, right?
Yep. And if anybody's listening, what we're trying to encourage right now is that in order to build confidence into the system that Chris has built, is that if you're interested, check out Bloxx. Put your name down, and if you're interested, and we're just going to collect sort of names and get numbers in, and that will prove the level of interest and people that want to be in a home for 1% deposit, same amount as paying the rent, and actually have a debt-free ownership model.
No, good on you, Cliff. Awesome, mate. Awesome. I'll just get some addresses where people can actually approach you guys. Might as well make it easy for people. How do they get hold of you guys, Chris?
Just come on the website, bloxx.co.nz.
Yep.
Very easy. Click on join the movement, register your details. We're then going to be in touch because we've got this wonderful opportunity to actually take people on a journey with us.
Yeah.
Educate them on how the product works, understand every little bit of it, because it's an important decision. It's a big thing, buying a house, right?
People are saying here, I'm getting text messages live coming in through YouTube and TikTok right now. Duncan, great show, great ideas. This is what we need. This is what we want, So people are talking about it right now.
And it's not just for people that need or want to get into a home. It's for people that are interested in investing, or people that just want to support others. Just the idea of it. If that's all it is, just even the idea that there's a movement to try and get more people into homes.
Yep, people are loving you guys' ideas. They're loving it. It's fantastic. So for the first, you're launching. Well, you're launching now, aren't you? I mean, you're sort of. You want to call it a soft launch? Is that what they're saying?
We've got a customer in a home, so we've already put all the legal structures down. Yeah, this is live. This is real.
Where's that house?
Toby on.
Well
on the
done.
shop.
Oh, good shit. Yeah.
We're now moving into the next phase around, because we don't just want to keep putting 1, 2, 3s in a home.
Yes.
We want to build the thing.
So it's all new builds, right?
So new builds, yep. So we can bring the developer into the system. Not you buying off plan, you're buying it when it's built, keys are ready, you just move in. Removed all that risk of buying new build.
What would the banks say about you? They'll ignore you initially.
Yeah, I mean, so I've said this to you before, I'm a fan of the banking system. I've worked in it all my career. I know how important it is.
Yes. We need good banks.
We need good banks.
Yep.
The economy struggles if we don't have that. So we want to work with the banks. We want to create a system that they can participate in if they wish to. We're not, we're basically everyone that the bank says no to, we're going to have a good conversation with.
Yes.
So there is no real competition.
People on my feedback here on YouTube are saying, Duncan, the money lenders, i.e. the Jews, but the money lenders won't let it happen. What do you think about that?
Well, I think not so. I just don't think. I understand that's. I can understand where that thinking comes from, and that's not how we're thinking. We investors are investors, and investors, you can have social impact investors. It's a very potent form of transforming the way that we do things in our.
Yeah, see, I think those guys are a bit too negative there, to be honest. I think
it's fine. People are free to think what they think. That's just not that we're seeing it, and we're not. Like I said, we're not on a crusade to go out and point out what anybody else is doing wrong.
No.
We're on a mission to get people into home.
Yeah, it's not virtue signaling, is it? This literally is outcomes. Get people into home.
Get people into homes.
Yep, that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, no, good on you guys. Duncan, this is Justin. I lost my job and had to sell my house to survive. So gutted. Now I can't get back into the market, but I may be able to. So I think you have a lot of interest. So people can jump on the website at Bloxx.
Yep, just hit the button. Give us your name.
BLOXX.
BOLXX, yeah.
Yeah, got double X there. That's all the questions from me. Cliffy, thank you so much for joining us, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Editor-in-Chief.
Aye.
Well done, brother.
Aye. Hey, the chief.
Say hi to your mum. Say hi to your mum.
I will do. I will do. You're a good man, Cliff.
All right, then.
Good man. Thank you, brother. And
All right, thank
Chris, you. You too, mate. Chris, thank
Thanks,
you so
Chris.
much.
No, thank you, man.
Bye.
You guys are going to be a mean
Bye.
team. 4,500 in the first year, eh?
That's the goal in the next couple of years, yep, 100%.
Right. Look out for my name on that list.
Absolutely,
Okay?
Duncan.
I
Let's have
appreciate
a
it.
chat.
Okay, all the best. Thanks, Chris. Ta.
Take care.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, this could shake up the system, couldn't it? This start to work this one out. I mean, you don't have to turn up with 200 grand. You turn up with 20, or you turn up with 10. If it's $1 million, 1%, 10. Just like that. Yeah, I see. I can do my maths. Right. Let's do. I appreciate it, Chris. Cheers, mate. We'll be in touch. Let's do 3 questions.
3 questions from the editor-in-chief.
At number 1 today. So this is the time for 3 questions. Right? Who do you give the Hellberg to? Is my question. Okay. Who do you give the Hellberg to? Is the focus of my 3 questions tonight. At number 1, they're on top of the world. And have you ever seen a 0 to hero performance like this? The White Ferns, from bottom ranked, entering the Cricket World Cup and having lost 10 on the trot, or 16 out of the last 19 2020 games, to making them into the final, and then winning the final against South Africa, the Hot Shots, South Africa. They are the 2020 Women's Cricket World Champs in 2024. $3.9 million in prize money and $280,000 each is what it will come down to. It is remarkable. Congratulations.
2.
And number 2, don't forget the America's Cup. 3rd time in a row for Team Dalton. Sorry, Team New Zealand. This is the oldest trophy in sport. A 3-peat. Surely they're the greatest, aren't they? I don't know. For me, it's tinged with the fact that it was done offshore, and I reckon we won't see it here again. I've thought about this really hard today. Maybe the early races, maybe you might get some of the early races here with the finals here. They'll split it potentially. Finals here and challenges away. I don't know. But all the talk is Middle East, Dubai, something like that. They want it. And Saudi Arabia, they've got the dough, you see. They've got the money. They've got the money to nail us on this one. This is not New Zealand's cup anymore to organise, is it? This is Grant Dalton's cup. This event he now controls. He has successfully basically got ownership of this cup now. He won't want to give that up to any New Zealand government official or Auckland City Council local body committee. He's done it overseas without our money. It's his cup. He controls it. Do we admire him, or do we respect him, or do we despise him? You've got to acknowledge his success, and it's pretty good. The success is now his, and his to control, isn't it?
3.
At number 3, how's this? The New Zealand Paddle Ferns, our women's senior canoe polo team, blasted their way to a 6-1 win over Italy in the final of the World Championships in China. Emma Malcolm and Tanya Dugdale opened up the lead for our senior women, and they never gave it up. So they've won their 2nd gold medal at these champs after topping the podium in 2016. It's remarkable. They're world champions. It's been, what a wicked weekend.
Duncan Garner, live.
World champions in the canoe polo. Did you know there was such a thing, Isaac? Isaac's in the control desk.
Yes, I did actually.
Yeah, they're good, eh?
Yes, I actually know Emma Malcolm.
Do you?
Yeah, I've
How
known her
did
for quite
I
a
not
long
know
time.
this?
Oh, I don't know. It's never really come in conversation, has it?
No, well, hey, you know Emma Malcolm? No, I don't, but you do.
Yes, yeah, no. I've
These guys are good, eh?
she's from Christchurch, like me. I've known her for a while.
Chicha.
Yeah, and she's been doing canoe polo for as long as I can remember. She went to Middleton Grange.
As long as you've been doing it, I think.
Middleton Grange High School is they have a
Oh
big
my
canoe
God.
polo, thing there. There's like everyone does it there, and then she's obviously moved on up and gone to the Kiwi team, and now she's won
Who
gold.
knew they existed, like, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
The black pedals.
yeah. White pedals.
White pedals.
One of them. I can't remember. But no, congratulations to them.
Yeah. But what about, hey, did you go to the Ace? Did you go to Auckland soccer, Auckland football?
I did. Oh man, what a game!
Oh, I know.
What a game!
I know. You're hooked for life, so you're a lifer.
Oh yep, I bought a shirt.
Did you?
Yep. So I can say went to game 1,
How
bought a
much for a
shirt.
shirt? How much for a shirt?
Oh, it was like $120, I think.
$120.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, worth it. Winning 2-0
120 for a shirt.
against Brisbane Roar.
I know, up
you
yours.
know, exactly. And it was just kind of
And-
like, got to get it now.
So what a great weekend, right, from sports. So it's
Oh,
been
yeah,
pumping.
fantastic.
Hey, what about the atmosphere at the AC? So at the soccer.
Oh yeah, there was 25,000 people there for game 1, which is great.
I mean, Auckland Rugby, NBC, lucky if they get 500.
Sometimes the Warriors are lucky to get that number as well.
Well, they come back again, they will. I mean, football's
Yeah.
diehards. They do it differently.
Oh, 100%. It was
Why is
great. The
that?
atmosphere was amazing. Oh, I think it's very, you look at the crowds over in the UK, and those crowds are insane. And they have their chants,
True.
and they have lots of fun. I
Did
feel
you
like it
keep
just
your
looks
shirt
very
on, or did
enjoyable. Yeah, I did keep my shirt on. I was chill, but there was definitely some people that didn't.
Are they doing that? They were doing that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the Phoenix thing. I don't know. That's been a great weekend.
Yeah, it
And
was
the America's Cup, of course. But do you agree with me? It's Dalton's Cup, isn't it? He controls
Yes,
it.
yeah,
eh?
yeah. A bit of a shame, but it's
we
great
get-
to see that we're still winning.
Should we give them? Yeah, of course. Mate,
Yeah.
what a great weekend. Do we give them a ticker tape parade?
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
They probably all live overseas.
Yeah, good
They may
point.
not actually come home.
Good point.
Would
Yeah.
they get booed or hissed? Not the sailors. Yeah, and the women's cricket, of course. What? You
that
lose
was
16
amazing.
from 19 games.
I know. It was crazy. Yeah, and then they just blew into this tournament and absolutely smashed it.
They lost 10 in a row.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
They get $3.9 million.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
280 each.
That's great.
That's great, isn't it?
Well, I mean, and again, well deserved. You win the World Cup, 100%.
3.9 million.
Yeah.
What's the prize money for the America's Cup?
Oh, I assume a lot more
They
than
probably
that.
get paid anyway every day, don't they?
Yeah, true. Good
They're
point.
getting paid.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Isaac, you're the man.
No
You're the
worries,
man.
bro.
You're the man.
Duncan Garner, live.
Let me discuss this just very quickly. I don't want to go on about this, but I'll keep it short. I wish to talk about Cabinet Minister Andrew Buffhead Bailey and the Prime Minister, who couldn't look weaker if he tried. The Small Business Minister, Andrew Bailey, should have been sacked, I reckon, for acting like a right prat, like a private schoolboy, teasing and hassling someone after lights out. What a bully. And holding on to him, I think, is poor judgment from Luxon. But it says all you need to know, doesn't it? Andrew Bailey has clearly failed to uphold the standards required to be a minister. I doubt Key would have, and I've reported on this stuff right the way through, and I watched Key get rid of people. I doubt Key would have accepted this behaviour, and his ministers were removed for less than this. Luxon has backed the wrong man. Bailey's acting like a buffhead, not a leader of small businesses. But it came out on Friday night, and the political media were 3 drinks deep on a 12-hour bender, and they weren't getting all huffy and puffy like they normally would. You know, they were on the booze. Saved by the bell, this guy, I reckon. What happened? Here goes. Bailey, on a visit to a small business, told a worker to, quote, go home, mate. Take some wine and fuck off. Go home. Because this guy was working when no one else was. Bailey then made the L sign, as in, you're a loser, and ridiculed him. What a complete tosser. Bailey's apologised, and Luxon says it's not good enough, but won't sack Bailey. So it must be good enough then. Luxon looks weak. He's read it wrong. The worker says he was humiliated and made to feel small, and it was embarrassing. Certainly this is what you call in the game serious punching down. It's when a minister takes the mickey out of someone below them, like a worker. Now, already the public, in my view, wonder if Luxon is out of touch with ordinary Kiwis, ordinary workers, and I think this helps confirm it. If this blows back up due to something else that comes out like fresh evidence, Bailey will be banished. But Luxon's relying on nothing else emerging, there being no interest in it. It helped Bailey that this came out, as I said, on Friday night, late on Friday. Everyone had checked out, media's drinking, and it also helps that he's unknown. And no one pays him much attention or interest anyway. No one takes him that seriously. There are only a few real power brokers in the cabinet, and Bailey is not one of them. Hence, it would have been much easier for Luxon to say, F off. It's not good enough, and promote someone who actually deserves the job. Melissa Lee gone, but Andrew Bailey stays? Why? Bailey doesn't deserve to be paid, in my view, $300,000 to represent the government and hold the small business portfolio. Small businesses make up 80% of our economy. They are full of ordinary workers who work night, day. Bailey behaved like a right tosser and appeared so out of touch, I reckon. He might wish to grab some wine and F off home himself, because surely he's just proven that he's not up to being a minister of anything.
Duncan Garner, live.
Right. That is us. Thank you for your feedback, and thank you for all your support today. And thank you for tuning in to Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, live with Esther's Oil, the premium New Zealand-made fish oil supplement backed by a study. Support joint heart and brain health. About Health have a $500 Pro Health Pack. It's a giveaway running right the way through October, with all orders going in to do the draw to win. Now you can use the code Duncan for 10% off, and you get an extra entry in that as well. Abouthealth.co.nz. Take as directed, read the label About Health Auckland. The number is 0800 999 309. They're standing by the phone, so get in there. I'm still not strapping my leg. I was strapping it before, took the fish oil, I've been on it for 6 weeks, feeling much better. Right, that's us. This will be available as a podcast on Rover shortly, or wherever you get your podcast, basically. Thank you for your feedback and support, as I said. You can get hold of me, Duncan at rover.nz, to my team, Isaac and Forrester in Absentina. Thank you, guys. We'll do this again tomorrow. Remember, life is no dress rehearsal. There is no curtain raiser. You're in it. We're living in it. One of the best countries on earth, but let's keep it that way. Enjoy the rest of your day and your evening. Take care, folks.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.